All right, starting her up. Still starting. And it looks like we are
It says live for me. Yeah, it says live for me. I'm going to have it muted so I can read chat.
Alrighty. Greetings and salvations. This is Unthoff Neverborn, the abyss that slumbers, and you're listening to Eldritch Rants here over at KWAC Central. KWAC, of course, standing for Kakistani Weaponized Autistic Cats. Joined here by my panel of experts here. And this week's question is, of course, how much wood could a woodchuck chuck if Justin Trudeau wasn't destroying small businesses with his Marxist globalist agenda? The answers to this question and many more will be answered by our stalwart experts over here, ever on the forefront of, I don't want to say social justice, it's just on the forefront. At any rate, you guys want to introduce yourselves?
Tout moi.
Hello. And hi, Max, the first person to speak in the chat, who I've seen in quite a few chats.
Hey, it's Max Bergen. How's it going? Our one fan is back. Awesome. Someday we'll hope to get up to double digits. Ah, what a week. Unfortunately, there's not going to be a lot of humor in this episode, just because so much... Well, I mean, there's some good news and some bad news, but it's going to be kind of on the serious side. What do you guys want to start with?
We have to get to 2 fans before we can get to double digits.
Yes, that's true. That's true. Do you want to go with foreign news? Do you want to go with the silly news, at least with the hand gestures?
Let's go start with the good news, and then we can go into more depressing shit.
Gotcha. Basically, this past week has seen the whole corrupting of the OK sign. I don't know if you guys have seen the graphic. It was personally amazing. Apparently, this started off over 2 months ago on Poll. They made a graphic showing that the OK sign was actually white power, which is odd because in Europe, actually, it means asshole. This is your asshole when they show off that thing there. They're calling you an asshole. In America, it's the OK sign. But in Europe, it means you're an asshole. Not in all countries, but in some.
They also started 2 genders.
Yeah, but they've managed to convince a major newspaper that it means white power. The fingers are the W and the circle is the P. And then they moved on to 2 genders with the peace sign. And now they've got the flag, the rainbow flag, because, keeping everything separate is good. And,
there's a third hand sign as well. I just can't remember what it is.
Oh, there's a third one now? Well, there was the whole alphabet. Somebody took the entire deaf alphabet of hand signs and made them all white power symbols.
Deaf people are just all white supremacists.
Even when they're black and Asian and Hispanic.
Oh yeah, it's nonsense. It's utter nonsense. Which actually brings up, I don't know if anybody's seen the recent Undoomed video. I recommend it because he found someone who is truly horrifically annoying. But I just have a question. Is there anybody who's actually white who uses the term reverse racism anymore? Because everybody knows there is no reverse. The reverse of racism is tolerance. So the only people who seem to use that term now are social justice warriors. Or is that just me?
I only use it in conversations with social justice warriors when I ask them what the fuck they're talking about.
The only time I use it is when I tell a social justice warrior they're retarded for using it.
Yeah, it's what is it about them getting stuck in the past? Like, you're responsible for slavery, white. Some old guy back in 2009, 2010 said the words reverse racism and you can't let it go in 7 years. Seriously now?
What's even worse is that they'll take the patriarchy from the 1980s, early 1900s, and they'll say that it's still like that today, and that's why we need feminism.
They'll still hold on to freaking slavery from over 150 years ago.
They hold on to everything that forwards their agenda.
I mean,
true.
unfortunately, you can't. I actually had that conversation once with the whole slavery thing, and I said, look, to be honest, there are more slaves today than there have ever been. There are 46 million slaves, and guess where they are? They're in
The Middle East.
They're in India. They're in Africa.
Yep.
They are not in white-held countries, okay? If you want to be racist, the white people are the ones who fought racism and were the first race to try to get rid of it. What is the origin of the word slave? Slav or Slavic or white people. Seriously now. I mean, but you say these facts at you, they just call you racist. Like, that was the response. I was so dumbfounded because this was an actual face-to-face conversation. And I'm like, but you know, it's just something so stupid. You realize there is no point actually trying to say anything from this. And I think I just walked away. I don't remember really what happened after that.
Speaking of the retardedness of them, I was watching a video earlier today. There was this black kid with two white girls, and they were both chanting for Trump to win. This old black guy comes up and starts telling them that Trump is racist and he wants to deport everyone who isn't white. And the black kid completely schools him. And then the black guy walks away for a minute, and this old white bitch comes up and is talking about the same exact thing the black guy did. And the black teenager again schools her, and he's like, and she tells him he needs to get an education. He goes, okay, where'd you graduate from? What are your credentials? And then and then the black guy comes back over again to start what he had already started. The black kid schools him again, and then they start back up with their Trump chant to win.
See, a couple of things I don't think that, the weird, I like young kids today, oddly enough, because they do care. They're like starved for information, and they actually go out and find it. As opposed to these people who get their sound bites from CNN and go, no. You know what? You mind if I digress from the schedule a bit, just to rant a little here?
I don't mind.
I don't care.
I've been thinking about it a while ago, and I had this discussion with somebody on their stream. The phrase diversity is strength, there is a hint of truth to it, which is why to some degree they use it. But the real truth is, if you're sticking with just ideas, the free market of ideas, right? Let's not talk about the physical world. Let's talk about discussing concepts. You need conflict for strength. You have to have conflict so the bad ideas can be shamed and gotten rid of, and the good ideas can rise to the top. And you can't have conflict without diversity. So in some regards, diversity does lead to strength if diversity leads to conflict. But what we have today is people trying to enforce diversity without conflict. And it's just a powder keg. It is only a matter of time with artificially enforced niceness, without there being any open discussion, that sooner or later it is going to explode. And if you look at social justice warriors and the liberals, they're eating their own time and time again. They'll jump on each other for the slightest of errors. And the reason is of course, they're not allowing bad ideas to be gotten rid of. I mean, and I believe that honestly, hate isn't good or bad. Hate has its service. Personally, I think it's perfectly fine to hate a pedophile. I think it's perfectly fine to hate somebody who is a sadist and enjoys the suffering of others and tortures people deliberately. All right? That's okay to hate. It is okay to hate and shame those people. That is the purpose of hate and shame, for something that is bad for you. But currently we live in a society that does not want hate or shame, and as such, that is what's causing all of this big bullshit. Is everybody is trying to maintain niceness, but it's not working anywhere. Lauren Southern, I believe is her name, recently came out with a video with things I want to tell women. And I was listening to it and I'm like going, yes, I already know all of this. But that's what brought it back to mind, which is if you're constantly nice to somebody and you tell them, hey, you're not fat, you're perfect just the way you are, here's a participation trophy, and they never have any stress and you never, ever confront them with anything and they don't have any hardship, when they hit the real world where there's been people who have been through hardship, who have built up their, tough skin, who have built up their muscles, who have built up their intellectual rigor, they're going to wipe the floor with you. And we are really doing women a disservice in our society because we tell them all the time, we dote on them. We tell them, we make lives easier for them. We give it easier to get into college, easier to get through things. They did a study where they took a bunch of tests, gave it to a bunch of teachers, had them grade it, and then they reversed the gender of the names. They just changed the names. Nothing else was changed. They brought it back like 4 or 6 months later. And even on multiple choice, where you have a key that you cannot change, it's A, B, C, or D, the girl names got 15% better grades. No wonder women aren't making it in the workforce. No wonder they're not making it to CEOs. Those are meritocracy positions. And because we don't allow them to hear anything negative or to ever hate a woman or to ever be bad to them, we are sabotaging them from ever having a serious career. We are cutting the legs out from them by setting them up to fail. Hatred isn't good or bad. As long as it does not become physical and boil over into violence, it is perfectly fine to have arguments, to feel dislike or hate or something. In fact, I would encourage it to some degree because I don't think we have enough ideas out there and we don't have enough conflict. If we're going to solve the world's problems, we're going to need to bring more ideas together, which is why I often encourage people, go out, make your own channel and say something. And that's about it for my little rant there. If I'm dead wrong, please let me know. Thoughts? I'll take that as a no from the two of you, or did John have to go use the bathroom?
I'm assuming he's AFK, and I agree, so I have no thoughts.
Gotcha. Just wanted to digress a little. I'm looking at Lauren Southern's picture here on this little two genders thing here, and I'm looking at how easy it is to troll the left with, a peace sign being two genders and being a racist symbol. When you're that cut up in dogmology, when you're that caught up in your own little world, somebody showing you a peace sign, which they probably don't even recognize as a peace sign, or the OK sign, which they may have never even seen, some of these social justice warriors. I have no doubt that some of them are so sheltered that an OK sign never, I doubt some of them have even seen a thumbs up because, that might be triggering. You got to snap your fingers. You can't clap.
Thumbs up would imply danger because some people assume that when somebody has a thumbs up in a dangerous situation, they're measuring the whole nuke thing. And that could be triggering because that would be a racist towards any country that we assume has nukes.
You have a point. Maxwell Horn asks a question, how do we make marriage marketable again? To be honest, I think unfortunately at this point, you're going to have to wait until the market crashes. What's going to happen is, and it's already happening now, is, and unfortunately may go too far, is you're watching men just saying, nope, not interested.
I mean, why would we be interested in something that we don't benefit from, actually has negative effects on us? A lot of men have talked about how after a long marriage, they start to hate their spouse, but they can't go through a divorce because their spouse will take all their money or they're going to lose their kids, etc.
What needs to be is, well, what's kind of happening now, which is a restructuring. And the sooner people catch on, the better. The sooner that economically it can be changed back the way it was. Economically, and men are very driven by money. It is, gathering resources is a male imperative.
So, yeah, without money, you can't survive in this day and age.
As the old saying goes, men are born poor but die rich, and women are born rich and die poor, because the older you get, the less market value you have sexually. And there's nothing wrong with that. It worked for tens of thousands of years. It can keep working for a while. But you have to convince women that, hey, being a mother and having somebody take care of you isn't a bad thing if you start early enough and you don't get bullshit in your life and don't sit there and make the other person miserable all the time. I'm not saying that it's always women's fault for making men miserable. There are assholes out there. But then the fault is you married an asshole. Why don't you take better time figuring out who to marry? Check with your parents. Oh, God forbid you actually get some feedback from somebody else who went through the process before you. Yeah, that's probably a good idea. Even if they screwed things up, you can at least get them to tell you what not to do. As for was it a victory sign and not a peace sign? It depends on where you are. Some places it was victory, especially during World War II. It became the peace sign in the 60s with the rise of the hippie movement. And briefly in the 1980s, it became the symbol for vagina, especially when guys would put it up against their mouth and stick their tongue out. And actually, it's a pretty good point to bring up. Language and communication is mutable, especially when it's nonverbal. All right. You need to keep that in mind. You can't, like the left wants to censor thoughts and censor words and censor ideas. You can't. Their memes are incredibly versatile. They're very good at mutating and getting out there. If the idea exists, it will be there. If there is a reason for the idea to exist, if there is an environment where that idea can thrive and is an advantage to the person who's thinking it, it will exist. No matter how hard you may want to try to kill the word nigger, it's there for a reason. So you either need to accept it and move on, or you're going to fight a losing battle to eventually where it's going to be turned into, I don't know, kumquat. Kumquat is going to be the new word for nigger. You can't stop it. All right, everything mutates. So.
The whole, how SJWs want men and women separate and all that for them. Well, some of them do. I just thought of an anime that was back in the 90s. It only had like 2 seasons. Men and women lived on 2 different planets. They both had their ways of reproducing. Men only were able to have men be recreated, and women were only able to have women recreated. Well, there's a space battle between the 2 planets, and men and women were forced to learn how to get together, or how to work together again after like a few 100,000 years. After they went to different planets, and afterwards everything was peaceful.
I think I remember that one. I have a mind for useless trivia, so that actually sums out.
It's like Van Dread or something like that.
Oh, Randy, well, if you've got the Discord link, hop on, and if you want to jump on general, feel free to come on in. Yeah, I know a lot of the stuff that I send by message gets sent to spam. I think I have gotten on YouTube's BS list.
When you sent me the message with the Discord link, you didn't go to my spam. The only reason I even found out you sent me a message is because I got email randomly.
Yeah, I don't really look at my actual messages. I check my email every day, so I got it through email.
Not everybody has an email up. I tried to carbon copy it to that, but it doesn't always come up. Any rate, any more?
Well, I sent you.
Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I sent you the message through YouTube, and that's how you responded to me. Because after you went on that Ranting Monkey stream, that's when I sent you the message through YouTube.
I make a point to call it up at least once a day on mine. I've got a list of tabs that I open every day. At any rate, anything else on the mangling of hand signals? And by the way, slow clap to Poll for pulling this off. I'm greatly appreciative of all of the fine autistic people over there. Thank you very much for pulling this off.
Now, Bob, clapping is oppressive towards people with sensitive hearing.
Clapping is oppressive to people who don't have hands.
Well, then let's just say the word clap over and over. Clap, 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 clap,
clap, clap, clap, clap, clap, clap, clap, clap.
Snapping is also offensive to people who don't have hands. And SJW started snapping to not offend people. They're being offensive still.
Hypocrites.
The irony is I work with people who are paralyzed from the neck down, and none of them give a crap about any of this.
I know.
I would tell you this, of the ones who have an IQ high enough to understand language, I would say about 2/3 of them are actually pro-Trump, even knowing what he wants to do to healthcare, because they know how bad Obamacare screwed things up. People do not understand how it's really screwed people over. If you're not in a major city and you're in a county that's outside of a major city in America and you're on Obamacare, in New York State, there are counties you've only got one choice, and that one choice only exists because New York State is bribing them with tax breaks and flat out gifts.
Yeah.
Which means it's not private healthcare anymore if the state is paying them to be there. That becomes state-run healthcare. If it's not private, if you're getting money from the government. And it is bad. I will admit, when the DSNPs came out, which would be dual special need programs for those who care, which combine Medicare and Medicaid in another program, it worked very well until the money ran out. And then it left it a massive hole. There was a huge crash. Anybody who signed up with the program got screwed because they usually dropped their good programs that they had before this to go with DSNP. And now those places were either not there or wouldn't take them back because they lost all that business. They couldn't afford to still be in New York State, so they went away. So the dual special needs program, which was amazing, it gave so many benefits. All it did was destroy any free market healthcare in any county outside of, a major city because they couldn't survive.
Yep. Also, welcome to the Discord server, Randy.
Oh, yeah, Randy. Hey, you know how to get on the voice channel?
I'll be right back. I'm going to run downstairs real fast.
Gotcha. All right. Hold on one sec.
Okay.
There, I think I need to actually set him to qualify to jump on the voice channel. So if you want to come on, Randy, just, anytime you're ready. Or if you just want to jump on and listen, you can feel free. Any rate, where were we? I think we were moving on from the mangling of hang signals. Do you want to deal with more madness from Canada or from Kekaswela?
Kekaswela, please get me away from Canada.
Kekaswela. Needless to say, it's gone from downhill to the bottom of the hill to plunge through the Earth's crust down to the mantle and is now barreling towards hell. Recent footage has arisen where they're basically riding in the streets saying, "Hey, we would really like some food." Whereupon a military vehicle showed up and the military personnel around it, I believe, ran for high heaven when the people started using, I believe, Molotov cocktails. And one of them landed on the armored personnel carrier, which then decided, well, we're already on fire. Let's have some fun, and promptly drove through the crowd of protesters, running over at least one reported protester. Although when I saw that video, that truck looked like it was bouncing around pretty good, so I thought it hit at least 2 or 3. At the very least, it looked like a couple of people bounced off the front and off to the sides, but...
Where was this happening at?
I'm sorry, what?
Where did it happen at again?
Venezuela, or as we like to call it, Kekaswela. It was a...
I wish they would have done that in France when Antifa was setting cops on fire with Molotovs.
No, the only ones who get violent are socialists. That means Antifa gets violent, and in Venezuela, the government gets violent. The place is a hellhole. It really is. When I was looking over investigative reporters who snuck into the country, and I was reading about the piracy, what the fishermen were doing, and I'm like going, wow, it's a bunch of pirates, lousy. Oh, wait, what? Oh, you're talking about fishermen, right? Shouldn't they have, fish? But they can't get enough fuel or rope to make nets to go get fish. And when they do get it, if they try to sneak it back to eat themselves and the government catches you, they shoot you out there and leave your body in the water. And needless
Wow.
to say, like gangs have taken over, including like one guy who managed to organize over 50 of the other fishermen into basically making a pirate navy. And if you're an honest person, well, you better kowtow to this guy who's going to come and kick your ass. And I don't know how it wound up, but it was kind of a standoff between, like, it sounded like from the reporter, honest people versus people who gave up help and decided to become criminals because there was no other choice. This is what unfettered socialism does. Even if you're sitting on the largest supply of oil on the planet, your country is screwed.
Yep.
Your country's even more screwed if you're sitting on the largest oil on the planet.
Well, yeah, true. People will want to come and take it, but
Your country's just screwed as soon as Antifa shows up.
Oh, yes.
oh god, the Antifa in Europe, I thought it was bad in America, but apparently Antifa's been around for a long time in Europe. And when I was looking at the footage from Paris on May Day, like, this is supposed to be a holiday. And apparently in Europe it is National Commies Come Out and Fucking Riot Day. Like, seriously. And I'm like, they firebombed cops. Like, they didn't just like, we're going to threaten you with a firebomb. They hit the cop dead on the shield, caught him and the guy next to him on fire, and people were freaking laughing and clapping. And I'm like going, holy crap. Why the hell is Le Pen not winning this slam dunk?
What do you expect from Antifa? What more do you expect? This is nothing compared to what they know they're capable of.
See, I mean, there's a Machiavellian side to this whole thing that appeals to me on some level, which is, let's say Macron does win. I hope he doesn't, but he's up 18 points. But I don't trust the polls either, especially not in France. By the way, fire alarm might be going off somewhere in the building, but it's not in my section. I'll let you know if I got to leave.
They've also been around in the U.S. for quite a while too.
Oh,
have you ever heard of the YouTuber Wizard of Cause?
Oh yeah, I've watched him on and off.
I was watching one of his live streams when I first found out who he was, and he was talking about how back when Obama was first elected for president, he was back then trying to run for mayor of his town, and almost every single time he was going to one of the areas where he would have to give a speech, there was always Antifa sitting there trying to disrupt everything and ruin it.
I mean, I understand in some regards, but they're just crazy. They're just crazy. You can't solve, well, I guess up until this point they were allowed to get away with it. Like before Trump took over, yeah, if you were on the left, you could do whatever you want. I mean, I don't know if you kept track of the riots here when Trump was trying to run for office, but the one that when he held his one rally in, what was it, in Southern California, that was a mess.
I know.
That was people getting their heads bashed in, and the media didn't give a crap, and basically that was Antifa.
Antifa also likes to travel around to help their brethren in different countries and all that to burn shit down when people do something they don't like. That's why Lauren Southern, when she was there, she made the comment, spot the European, which offended Tyler Preston because the only 3 people you could actually see their skin color happened to be black. And that was at the end of her video.
Yeah, I mean, I understand she was trying to crack a joke, so I mean, you kind of have to have a tolerance for that, but yeah, bad timing, definitely.
The whole thing I don't get is she was showing Antifa people, and if you go a tweet back of hers, she's showing stuff of Antifa members that are all white in a Starbucks. And then she takes that video from inside the Starbucks with the Antifa people there, and then captioned it playing Spot the European. Just because you could only see 3 people's race doesn't mean every single person marching past was black. It's kind of racist to just assume that she's purposely pointing out black people when not everyone was black, because there was also non-Antifa members who looked like tourists who were walking towards that road at the same time in her video. And then Tyler Preston refused to accept any criticism of actual legit things. Like, me and like 10 other people after he posted the first video had given him legit criticism and proved to him how it would not have been racist. But we also said we can see why SJWs would assume it is. And then he makes a video the next day and shows only the people who went full retard on him over it.
Well, one, I understand he's trying to promote his channel and he's trying to make himself look good, but this is a very interesting example to pull up. Something, since the primary focus of all of this that we do here at KWAC is to help people build their own channels. That is something important to remember. Your ego, your pride is the single most expensive thing you will ever own. Nothing will cost you more than your pride.
Yeah.
Sometimes you're wrong. And when you run into I don't know if you ever get a chance to look up the evil overlord list. It's funny as hell. Read it. There is some real wisdom in there too. Like, for example, if I'm ever an evil overlord and somebody comes up to me and says, "Why are you doing this mad thing?" I will not continue the mad thing until I at least have a good answer for myself.
Yeah.
When a bunch of people tell you you're an idiot, stop and go, is there a chance I'm an idiot? And if there is, think about this. Is it worth this fight? Is what I'm getting worth what I would get if I just said, you know what, let's agree to disagree, or even go, you know what, maybe you're right. I don't want this. That is not the message I'm trying to say. That is my preferred cop-out, by the way. Whenever somebody is like listening to me and is telling me what I'm saying and I'm going like, you are way off, I prefer to go, that is not my message. That is not what I'm trying to say. I understand what you're telling me you're hearing, but that's not what I'm trying to say. So let's try and re-communicate here or something. Because
Tyler Preston literally said, "I'm not trying to make this about race, but," and then continued to make it about race for another like 10 minutes.
That's another point. The word "but" goes out of your vocabulary. Because you know what "but" says? "But" says everything I just said isn't true. I like you very much, but you're evil. You know what I just said? You're evil. Everything before the "but" doesn't exist. So whenever anybody uses the word "but," they are negating everything they just said. They're just trying to soften the blow of whatever they're trying to say next. Now, some people do it the other way. I've run into people who say really horrible things and then go, but here's some really nice things to say. You probably shouldn't use "but." Like, if you can avoid it. A lot of people do. I've got it as a bad habit. But something just to keep in mind going forward is pride will cost you. Always evaluate the pros and cons of whatever you're doing. Like, what are you trying to accomplish, and will this achieve it? But you don't really need "but." You could just say, I think you're a really nice person, and I think you're evil. You can say it that way. That way, both still apply. The moment somebody includes "but," that's bad, unless your intentions is to do that. Like if you're trying to argue with somebody and deliberately inflame them and try and get them angry. "But" is acceptable in that case. I'm not saying it's never acceptable. It's just you need to understand what your target is going to hear.
I think Tyler Preston was doing it because he really doesn't seem to like libertarian people. Like, I've seen him get triggered at "that guy T" and everything over "that guy T" literally saying the word statist. He got triggered over that word. And then Lauren Southern being a very open libertarian.
Yeah, she is. And to be honest, I wasn't heavily onto your libertarian myself until I had my discussion with Stephen Molyneux. Excuse me there. Um, we when we were arguing, we got stuck at a certain point. We were just going around and around, and then the conversation, he ended it. And to be honest, it probably was a good idea because he was going in a direction I wasn't expecting. But later, when I was like going, man, what the hell is wrong with you, dude? Like, you didn't making no sense. But later, when I tried to figure out what he was talking about, I realized what he was trying to get at, which is it is possible to not to be. You don't really need socialism at all. There is ways around that. The problem is we set up our societies. Monopolies are bad. So what do we have in America? We have we have insurance companies, we have competition, but there's only one source of counter of protection. We only have one EPA. I don't know if you guys know this about the banking, but I was in there a lot when they did the whole mortgage crash thing. Do you know that there are only 4 agencies in the United States for monitoring banks? And they have to bid to the bank how much it will cost the bank for them to be regulated. So the bank gets to compete as to which regulator they want.
Yep.
I mean, that's insane. That is utterly insane. To be the regulator who is completely dependent on the people you're supposed to regulate for their money. What they need is people need to do investments and then buy their own insurance. And then the insurance company, beholden to you and everybody else, instead of having, will be the one to monitor the bank and say, are you on the level? Are you screwing up? To be honest, replacing the EPA with insurance would be a great idea, especially if there were multiples. Insurance for clean air. I have no doubt that if there was an insurance company who was collecting fees to make sure that your air stayed clean, they will make sure your air stays clean because they don't want to pay you one thin dime if your air becomes polluted.
Yep.
And why settle with just that? You could, in theory, I think over time, replace most government agencies. I'm not sure if you could completely replace the government, but I think you could do away with a lot of overhead by having competing companies on both sides. One company working, kind of against you, but then another company who you're paying to work for you. We don't have that level of competition in America. We only have one watchdog, and that's the U.S. government. And the U.S. government gets their money from the companies that they're watching. That's doomed to failure right there. So, and especially since media is now basically in the government's back pocket.
Most the libertarians I watch on YouTube, a lot of them have never said they completely do away with the government in a libertarian society, but it would be very limited and would be nothing like it is today. And businesses, you could just start up a business and would actually have a chance to compete against someone like Apple, for example. And if they fuck up, they would lose a shit ton of profits by the backlash of it, rather than just, oh, hey, government, we need more money because we fucked up.
Yeah, and actually, that's a great segue into Canada. I know you don't want to go there, atheist, but I think it's worth mentioning. It's
all right.
Sad. Heritage Minister calls for overhaul of news business. I don't know if you know this, but basically, I again, going back to Stephen Molyneux, he had a great article on this, but I'm going to sum it up for you. There's I forget what it's called, the Pareto effect or something. Basically, the top 10% of any group is usually responsible for about 50% of the output, and the top 20% is usually responsible for about 80. So if you've got a group of 10,000 people, usually 100 people are doing the output. And this is, nobody quite understands why, but this is pretty consistent, plus or minus 5%. Okay. Now, the problem is when you have a business, like say, I don't know, any Canadian newspaper, And, well, they start screwing up. Well, who's going to leave first? The smart people. Smart people are going to see the writing on the wall, and they're going to go get jobs somewhere else. Maybe somewhere in news, maybe something else entirely. Maybe they'll become writers, whatever. But you're bound to lose your best people first. So if you have 10,000 employees and you lose the top 100 people, you didn't lose like a fraction of your output. There's a good chance you lost up to half.
Yeah.
And now you're doing even worse. And now you hemorrhage more people. Repeat process. Well, that's what's been basically going on in all mainstream media. All the smart people got out. Who do you got left? You got the people who weren't so smart. A lot of people with dogma. A lot of people who've got friends who want to protect their jobs. And what do you get? Lower and lower quality work. The news industry is doing great. There is more need for news than ever before. Everybody wants to know stuff. Okay, so if you're making news, there's a market out there for you. The question is, do you have good news, or do you have news that is made poorly and obviously, one-sided and bullshit? I think that the reason why most mainstream medias are like hemorrhaging employees and hemorrhaging business is because they suck. For places that have lost over half their employees, they probably reduced their quality of output down to like 5%. So what happens? Even as we speak, the Canadian government is talking about basically bailing them out. They're setting the stage to just start handing over cash to all of these newspapers and other failing Canadian businesses because they're just so suffering. It's so unfair what's happening to them. It's not their fault. It's Google and Facebook. They're the ones who don't even do news. They're just aggregates. They're just like your delivery guy. But they're claiming that Google and Facebook are destroying media in Canada. And so they want to put taxes on foreign news outlets. And they want to give money to local news outlets. Say bye-bye to impartiality when it comes to reporting on the government. I'm sorry, but Canada's just turning more and more into like a freaking communist state. Seriously, they're trying to freaking buy their own like Pravda. So I don't know if I should be happy or sad about this though, because I can, when I was reading other people's comments, there were some points about like this will speed up the decline. As we said before, being too nice to somebody without giving them any stress and no reason to improve, they usually get weaker. So if anything's going to kill Canadian industry, this is going to be it. Any thoughts?
Hold on. And I'm pretty sure a lot of industries are going to start dying with the whole everything's fake news now. Like Facebook and Google themselves are actually starting to censor a whole lot of independent sources because fake news.
We could barely trust, we couldn't even trust the mainstream media before, but now that they're going to need to be funded more by the government because they're poor, innocent souls, we're not going to be able to trust them at all, those people who did trust it before, because why would you want to screw over the people who are funding you?
Well, I mean, in one regards, this is the wrong way to go. If you have any desire to actually save your media in Canada, don't do this. Do not do this. Let them fail, and then let whatever is decent and has, after it's filed bankruptcy and shed off all the useless dreck, the best will rise. Okay, it will happen.
Well, it's not going to work. Trudeau is an idiot.
It's not going to happen, though. They're going to put these companies on life support. They're going to fill up with people with useless, socialism degrees. I don't know if there's an actual degree in being a communist, but I'm sure it's out there somewhere. And
it's gender studies.
That's what I was thinking of. And what's going to happen is whenever they put anything out, what do? You just point at them and say, you get your money from the government. You can't be trusted. You don't even need to do anything else. That's your argument right there. You might have to actually look up a fact or two on Google, but they just made it a lot easier to debunk anything they say. You are a puppet. You are useless. You can't survive. They even want to keep out foreign news outlets by taxing them. That's crazy.
Mm-hmm. Just for something funny, on Cognitive Thought's latest video, someone commented, "Drunken uncle touched me in a bad spot." Someone had to ask, "Are you serious or joking?" I replied, "It's an obvious joke. Drunken uncle's just a floating head." That person replied, "Oh." And then the original commenter replied, "It's true. I swear Otterface stole my weed."
That was more true news than what you're going to see in anything in the Toronto Star lately.
Let's see if I can find the video.
Oh dear God, yes. The last time I actually bought a newspaper, it was Toronto Star. I'd say it was last year, and I only bought it because it had those anonymous people on it.
We actually do have a newspaper sort of left here in central New York. It only publishes 4 days a week, but, it occasionally shows up.
I just put a video in the chat for you to watch later. It's actually really funny. The guy dresses
We've learned in the past when I've tried to do video on this, my computer goes...
I meant for later.
Yeah, it's going to have to be later.
The video is a guy dressed up as a Muslim, and he carries a bag around, and he throws it down in front of people or onto people, and then runs away. And then you watch the people run away. It's hilarious.
What country?
YouTube prank videos?
It's not even a prank video. It's just a compilation of stuff that used to be on Vine before it went downhill. But
Vine.
It's funny because the guy will like one of them, the guy walks up to a car while it's stopped at a red light or something, throws the bag into it, and then sprints away, and you watch the people fall out of the car trying to run away thinking it's a bomb.
I don't think I can force myself to watch Vine. It was created to cater to the large audience of millennials and Gen Z people who can't fucking focus for more than 7 seconds.
Actually, it was originally created for art before it took on video. The only reason it took on video is because it started to blow up by millennials. It was originally created for artists. Same with Tumblr and Instagram. They were originally made for artists, and idiots took over.
No, yeah, I mean, that's pretty accurate.
Just like Snapchat started for dick pics.
It's still used for that, though.
Did not know that. The only thing I know is somebody tried to trick me into going on chat roulette once.
Oh, God.
And, yeah, I quickly said, screw you for doing that, man.
I used to go pedophile hunting on Omegle. I actually have a Skype of some guy who has to be at least in his mid-30s who was on there flirting with people my age.
That's disgusting. They're not even... That isn't even worth joking about. People like that just...
So I've been considering sending it to the police.
When you get older, I know the news tries to portray it this way, but when you get to around my age, you find the idea of sex with anybody like under 25 kind of disgusting. Because you look at them and go, wow, that looks like a child. Oh my God. Oh. And there's a certain age where you start to look at young people and go, no, you don't even think about it anymore. At least normal people do.
One second, George. I went on I've watched a few videos of people going on Omegle just to troll the people on there. And if someone's sitting there with their dick out or something, the autistic screech until the person runs away.
Well, that's what should be done. I mean, if it's some private thing that says, hey, all we are is dick pics, like, I don't want to go there, but all right, sure, that's your thing. Fine, I'm sure it's out there on the internet, but if it's like in a state where normal or kids can wander by, come on, what the hell is wrong with you? But that's
especially since illegals do it towards people that are under the age of 18. I mean, the whole thing is meet strangers, and who's going to use it more than bored teenagers, kids, and then of course there's the grown men from 30 to 50, sometimes in their mid 60s, who will use it just to fap on camera.
That's basically what it's for.
Yeah, got what you're saying. Anyway,
actually,
was there something else you want to say?
When I was like 15, I actually had this 40-year-old guy try to get me to go on Omegle just to talk to him. I was like, no, I'm okay with that. I'll be fine not speaking to you ever again. Also, be right back. Dinner's done.
Gotcha. Okay, let's see. You want to deal with France or China, North Korea?
China.
Gotcha. I don't know if you guys heard about this. Basically, China told North Korea to stop being a dick. I mean, that's the summary, really. And China almost never tells North Korea what to do. And I think the reason why this has come up is kind of obvious. Originally, North Korea was a great lapdog. You know, every once in a while you poke it with a stick, it'd start barking its damn fool head off, and it would scare the rest of the planet. You know, it was a great little yard dog. You know, it's there, it's kind of feral. You got it on a chain, and if anybody comes to bother you, go, hey, don't mess with me, or I'll let North Korea off the chain. But that was back when China was a bunch of communists. Now they're kind of totalitarian capitalists. You know, they're communist only in name at this point. Other countries that were communist in their area that they helped make communist have basically kind of gone back over to capitalism, and China's kind of like, yeah, we don't care. You know, I mean, China does not feel threatened. They don't feel like they have to have this zone of protected extra countries around them creating a buffer, which was kind of what Russia was doing. China understands that America likes their products, and we really don't want to come over there and fight you. We just want you to make cheap stuff for us. And they're like, well, we'll be more than happy to take your money. And then you've got this leftover of North Korea, who China basically said, you know, stop it. And North Korea turned around and told them, no, go fuck yourselves. Little thing that I'd only learned recently is that basically in North Korea, they've started calling China and people from China rats. I don't understand what the translation is, but the way it's phrased, it's kind of more poetic in Korean. But when you translate it over into American, it's kind of like dirty rat. So if you're calling your closest ally dirty rats, you pretty much have decided to take on the entire planet. North Korea has no friends. They've flat out said, we're going to make nuclear bombs that we can launch from missiles, whether you like it or not. And the situation's just looking ugly. And then you've got Trump, who in my opinion is basically rattling his saber with one hand and then holding out his hand and saying, come on, let's talk. Initially, I thought, wow, what I thought he was doing, especially when he sent those jets over the DMZ, between North Korea and South Korea, that basically he was going to try and intimidate him on one hand and then say, let's talk in order to try to settle things with the other. I'm actually wondering that if Un, or whatever his name is, the leader of North Korea, actually came to America to talk to Trump, if while he was here, Trump wouldn't like arrest the guy and then attack his nation. I mean,
I think that would be the best course of action.
I think that would be the best course of action. And I think that's why Kim Jong-un will never come to America. Because I
They
think
might
that
violate something with China if he does that, though. Because he did talk to the Chinese president, and they set something up for China to rein in North Korea. And North Korea basically said, fuck you, China, we're going to do what we want.
oh, I have no idea. I'm pretty sure that in the end, what my guess is I think that actually it's China that's going to attack them.
North Korea is the angsty teen who hates everyone, but is all talk.
China's going to be the one to attack because everything in North Korea is aimed at South Korea. They have almost nothing on the border to China. So if China launched a whole bunch of missiles and started attacking North Korea would be like, wait a minute, but South Korea is supposed to be the one attacking us. America is supposed to be one, not you. So they would have to start turning their stuff around. And I have no doubt that China would talk to America and say, hey, we're going to go in there and kick his freaking ass. We would really appreciate it when you do that. If you could blow up blow up the DMZ, just blow up everything in there. Just call your troops back and just blow up that whole mile-wide strip of land across between both of them. And I'm sure Trump will go, yep, right there with you. Everybody's going to dogpile on him when it happens.
I wouldn't be surprised because America has been saying they're going to help Japan set up some sort of self-defense against the North Korea issue. I wouldn't be surprised if they just randomly, China starts an assault just to get the attention. And then it's like, hey, Japan, just fire all those missiles the U.S. gave you. Because it would be the least expected thing for Japan to be the one to fire right on North Korea.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I mean, the problem is I hope it doesn't, because we do know he's got at least 4 nuclear bombs. They're not very good. They're kind of sucky. And they either need to be delivered by truck or plane. So, but the problem is I'm not afraid of him launching the nuclear missiles. I'm afraid of him going, oh, nobody's taking North Korea. Boop. And like every major city over there, all 3 of them turn into a sheet of glass. That's what I think. That's what I mean. And he just came out and said, they tried to poison me. There was a poison attack on me. When in reality, there was a poison attack on somebody they tried to assassinate. I'm not sure what the end result was, but it wasn't an attack on Kim Jong-un. It was an attack of somebody who defected from his country. And Kim Jong-un was just saying, I've got assassins. Look. Ha ha ha. And it's like, at least his father, who was a nut job, was a pretty good nut job at like knowing when to back off. Mm-hmm. This kid is like in his own little universe. He's like social justice warrior, cubed. And he's on a whole new plane. So, any thoughts on what do you think is going to happen? Do you think war is inevitable, or do you think that maybe somehow this will all blow over and just become an ongoing stalemate forever again?
War is inevitable.
I wouldn't be surprised if they just wipe out China. Or not China, North Korea. I mean, give it to South Korea. But
I know the goal is to at least try to save the lives of people there, because I know a lot of people don't blame the North Korean people.
Yeah.
So
it is a dictatorship.
Yeah, but I have a feeling that China wouldn't mind a unified Korea, because I'm sure that they would go, you know what? There's a lot of oil in North Korea, and I'd like to have that oil effectively, not what the hell's going on over there right now. So if South Korea and North Korea joined and just became Korea again, I think that economically would benefit everybody. And I think that China has a lot of goodwill with the North Korean people, not with their government, with their people, because I know the people, there's a whole city right over the border in China. And there are people who go north just to look over the border, sightseeing wise, to look at the glorious glowing city, because at night they have lights, unlike in North Korea. So it would not surprise me if, all the propaganda they have in North Korea to say they're a bunch of rats doesn't actually take very well. I don't think that if there was a war and they managed to decapitate the leadership of North Korea, if it would be that difficult to clear this up. Maybe a year or two. I don't think you're going to be having guerrillas hiding in the woods for decades. I don't think you're going to get whatever's going on in Portugal, so. But that's what I got to say on the topic. You guys have any last words?
You know how SJWs were freaking out when Trump fired the missiles on Syria? Trump, during that, was able to get China to side with him, and Russia respects him enough not to destroy the U.S. carriers that fired those missiles. Kind of shows that Trump is the only president we could have chosen that would actually start getting the world to side with one another rather than being like, oh, we all gotta fight. This is going to be the end of the world type deal.
Oh, I agree. Please go on.
But if he does that, I'm pretty sure even if there's world peace, the SJW is, Trump ruined the world. The world's gonna end.
I will admit, there are sometimes he does things that scare the ever-living shit out of me. And then it turns out to be a good move. And I listen to NPR. I force myself to listen to them. And I keep hearing what they go, and they go on. And I'm like sitting there and going, you dwell on all this predictions of doom, and you bring up this stuff, but you don't ever explain the whole story. I really do believe they believe that Trump will kill us all. But I have to say, when I'm actually looking at the results, time and time again, at least when it comes to his foreign policy, I'm not too happy with what he signed with the internet bill. All right, let's be honest here. I will call him out when he screws up. He never should have signed that piece of crap. And I'm glad that the Republican Party is trying to fix what he did. But I don't know what he got for that deal. So I'm not going to stop supporting him, but I'm not going to be happy with him. But that said, when it comes to his foreign policy, he's been doing pretty good. And I love how they you're calling all these strong men to come and talk to you. That's Trump's problem. He loves strong man. And he's giving legitimacy to all of these strong man governments. Guess what? They already had legitimacy because they freaking rule their countries.
Yeah.
All right. The president talking to you doesn't make you more or less legitimate. That is your way of thinking. That is the liberal way of thinking where, if we just pretend they don't exist, they go away. Like I've said in other videos, they really do believe that perception equals reality. And they believe if we just ignore these problems will go away. If we don't treat him like a ruler, he isn't a ruler. We refuse to acknowledge that he runs the country. No, Yeah, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I've actually heard a SJW say perception is reality, which makes it fact.
Yeah. They do believe this. This is the fundamental problem you have with talking with them too, is because for them, they're, oddly enough, when you gotta, how sometimes the SJW is like, you're a fucking white male. Or you're fucking a white male, the joke. What he is actually saying is that he sees no difference between your message and your thoughts and who you are. Most civilized people believe hate the message, not the messenger. Hate the sin, not the sinner. They believe that the message and the messenger are the same. So when they say you're a white male, what they're saying is stop being white. They believe and I always find it funny. There's that one white woman who said, I'm trans black. And then all the SJWs kind of freaked out. And it's like, no. You guys created this world. This is what you believe. And now that you're actually seeing the actual crazy results of your insanity spoken out loud, you're freaking out because it ruins your little victim narrative if a white person can just be black. But that's what they've always believed.
You know what's sad? Rachel Dolezal said, I'm trans black, and they freaked out. Sean King, I'm black. Turns out he's just a white guy with white parents who faked a hate crime. He's on freaking the Young Turks now. And everyone acts like he was just born black and that his mother was a whore.
Well, it's because he's popular and the other one isn't. It has nothing to do with intellectual consistency. It all has to do with, what is the best optics and message that we can give? And yeah, I mean, Talcum X. Seriously, what else do you need to say about the guy? He is the whitest black man I ever met.
SJWs are quite literally living in an artificial reality because normal people perceive the world for what it is. They don't look at things as all, oh, this is oppression because yada yada. But SJWs will look at the world very differently than the normal person. And artificial means man-made, therefore their reality is man-made, their reality is artificial.
Yep.
Yeah, well, it's all part of that weird philosophy that you can change the world by changing your... Now, I do admit there are some things that are a matter of perception. Like, as an odd example, when I was running my own department, I had a keyword that I would shout. Oh, I left my phone, so I could always call over it, and everybody could hear it. And so if I needed to from everywhere in the office, I could call in. And if there was an audit coming, I would call and go, boo, boo, baroo. And that was the keyword for look busy, shut down everything, and get your shit in order because we're about to be audited or examined by the higher ups. Now, the weird thing is that when I went to another company, I kept that word. And when I was running a different department, like the boss was coming in, I started boo boo baroo to everybody. And they all looked at me like I was a madman. And I realized, oh, wow, that was a reflex. I shouldn't have done that. But the point is, for the right audience, what you're saying makes sense. To the wrong audience, you sound like a lunatic. Perception is important, but it's not always your perception that matters. Sometimes it's the perception of everybody listening to you.
Yep.
And that's the egocentrism of social justice. There, it's all about me, and the people who are viewing me don't matter. Their perception is not right. Mine is.
Because they want to act like they are the selfless ones. They want to act like they're fighting for everybody else, when in reality they're just fighting for themselves. I mean, I've never felt accepted or fought for by an SJW for being a tranny or a faggot. I've never met a decent black person who has said that they feel protected by Black Lives Matter. It's always for themselves. It's never for the people who actually need the help.
Pretty much. And in some regards, I can understand. I mean, intellectually understand, not accept, but understand, comprehend. Which is the point that if you want the world to be fair, which is what social justice is about, I want the world to be fair. I want there to be justice. That's right in the name. You know, they're social, the jury, justice, the judge, and warrior, the executioner. They want to make a fair world. Okay, I can get behind that. I can. The downside of that is life isn't fair. And if you follow the doctrine of making the world fair to its logical conclusion, eventually the only way to make things fair is to tear other people down. The only way to make things fair is to destroy people's lives. And to some extent, I did that when I was younger. Like, I was really angry about a lot of things that happened to me. I wasn't a social justice warrior. I just wanted revenge. And being a bill collector, you're really good at getting revenge. You can really destroy a lot of lives. Originally, I told myself I was doing it because it was justice. In the end, it didn't matter who I got a hold of, just as long as I made somebody's life miserable. And I don't want to get into the details about what changed me, but eventually I did, and I realized the truth. And the problem is I feel it'll be something dramatic for these people too, if they ever change at all. It is possible to keep your head in the sand for quite a long time. With any luck, life will smack them in the head, and they'll have that eureka moment where they'll go, wow, I'm just torturing people, and actually have empathy for other people. But unless you can let go of that anger, you're never going to be happy. And I got to pause for 2 minutes. So if you guys want to babble for a little minute, I'll be right back.
And the silence begins.
Do 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 do.
At least this is awkward as no guess that they're running the worst live stream.
Sorry about that. At any rate, I think our last topic of the evening is going to be France, unless you guys had something you want to bring up.
No. But we do see you in the chat, Randy, just so you know. Or at least I do. I've been paying attention. I just don't talk much.
You know, I do agree. A lack of comfort, a little adversity will help things. The problem is I don't know if it'll be a little adversity. Like, as I said at the start of the evening, if you treat somebody too, like with kid gloves and you never let them suffer, they're going to get that moment of rude awakening. And unfortunately, it's going to be extremely painful. I'm
Like
not sure how it's going to work out.
Like the one girl who was crying about telling her headmaster that he should step down because he wasn't creating a safe space at the college. He was creating an intellectual one, and that's not what college is for.
Well, for her, it's a home. For her, it's a place to feel safe. It isn't actually a place to learn. It's just a cocoon. She said it herself. I know which video you're talking about. This place is supposed to be a home. No, it's not. It's supposed to be a school where you learn how to be an adult and get on with your life and get a career and have some pride in yourself. People will assume that a job is bad. It's not. I mean, do a job you like. Don't do something that makes you miserable. But this whole follow your dreams. You know what? 99% of people fail at their dreams. Follow your dreams after you've got a job. That's what my dad told me.
Following your dreams is not always the best idea. I'm not good at math or science. My dreams used to be a physical and organic research chemist. I'm not going to ever be able to do that. However, I'm really good with English and law, so there's a chance I could become a lawyer. Not my dream, but it would be a job I would be good at.
Yeah, there's what you're good at, there's what your skill set is, and then there's what you want to do. What you want to do should be your hobby. And maybe you are one of those lucky few who want to do something and you have the skill set for it. That'd be great. Not everybody's got that combo, you know, so, but then again, that's different from what we're trying to do here to some degree. I don't want to discourage people from like, never go on YouTube if that's your dream. I'm saying don't expect to make a living at this, but definitely come on. You know, make a point, make a video, express yourself. The marketplace of idea needs competition. That means even bad competition. So give it a try. We need all we can get at this point. Excuse me. No, that's not going away. Anyway,
you should
on to
try
France, which I believe is probably in a very important, pivotal moment. A lot is riding on this. I'm not going to say it's like the end of the world, but it could be a really good thing, or it can be really bad.
There won't be much of a France left if Antifa doesn't stop trying to burn it down.
Yeah, I think that would be funny. Randy Raccoon wants to go across America claiming to be an immigrant from Kakistan. That would be awesome. You can go to hostels.
Can I join him?
Oh, yeah, that'd be great. I wish I had the time to do it, but if you do that, you have to record everything and upload it as you go.
I have no life. I'd be up for it.
What is that thing? Who was that movie? It was about the guy who claimed he was from some weird country. Borat, that was it.
Never seen it.
I never seen it either, but it's just this guy who pretended to be from a weird Eastern country, and he just went up to people and was really, really inappropriate. And the whole time he said, but this is how we handle things in my home country. Like, he wore this thong that went up over his shoulders. It was just surreal. So, like, basically his ball sack is up in his belly button. It was awful. But that's the point. See, that was that's a shit posting movie. A movie where everything is just shitposting, but it's also got a point to it. Everything, the parts that I did see, I could see on some level he was driving home a point. And in many ways, I think he was actually laughing at social justice warriors because they were the type of people who would fall for his bullshit. Oh, yes, I'm so tolerant and accepting of people, including this guy who obviously is from a made-up country who anybody who has looked at a map would know.
Yeah.
But, yeah, if you guys do that, you got to record the whole thing. But back to France. Right now, it looks like Le Pen is, last I heard, optimistically 16 points down. There's this whole thing that came out with Macron's emails. I wish it had come out about a week ago.
It's always the emails.
I don't read French, so I can't do what I did with Hillary Clinton's emails, which is just kind of scan through them quickly, because I can read fast, but it has to be in English. And I can't just translate it. The sentence structure just jars me too much. I can't speed read through it. So,
I'm not good with French, but I'm fairly fluent in French Canadian. I could try and translate it if you want.
Well, I mean, if you want to look it over and review it, you can. I would appreciate any insight, but you've only got until Sunday when the vote goes.
I'm not sure where the emails are.
Yeah, I can't find a copy either. When I did try to get a copy, I got blocked. So I think, and right now, France has completely banned poll from anybody from France getting onto poll. So 4chan is completely blocked from France until Monday. That's how terrified they are. Kekistan's autists are on the job. I don't know if there's been any serious conclusions yet. I do know that they were looking over some of the medication this guy takes. And when I'm looking over some of the medications, like, wow, dude, you are on some serious uppers. This guy is on some serious motivational drugs. Macron is the reason, I think the only reason he can keep his schedule is because he's taking enough drugs that he should be bouncing off the walls. If that's true, maybe false. Don't know. That's the problem. We probably need a good week in order to weed out the wheat from the chaff. But if this guy is taking as much methylphenidate, which is basically Ritalin, either this guy's got ADD or he's doing what every college student on the planet does. They're taking it so that they can pull those all-nighters. It's basically speed that doesn't quite kill you.
Yeah. Fortran is the best intelligence agency in the world. That's why the French banned it. I mean, come on, they found a flag in the middle of the field, in the middle of Tennessee, just to troll someone.
So, I mean, if Fortran is out there and you're hearing, we here at KWAC are crossing our fingers and we're wishing you the best. We're sorry we can't be of more help, but this is not our specialty. If it was in English, I'd be there with you. But, although I'm hoping that what is happening is that the media is being controlled even more than it was in America. Because France, from everything I've heard, has a real strong lock on its media. So I'm wondering if those polls are really out of whack. She could still win. I don't think anybody should say that a 16-point lead is not unsurmountable, because I'll tell you this, I was surprised at how when Trump won. I did not believe that it was going to happen. But here's the difference. Trump was playing to win the Electoral College.
Yep.
And Hillary was playing to win the popular vote. That's why she lost, and that's why he won. I don't think that's the same situation in France. I think it's just popular vote.
I kind of knew the entire time Trump would win, just because most people didn't want him to.
I still wanted him to win. I just didn't think he had the numbers when I was looking at it. I was going, God, he's just not going to pull off enough states. But then there were the huge swings. And we've got a lot of undecided voters in France. So we can cross our fingers. The problem is I'm not exactly ecstatic with Le Pen either. She's just the better of two horrible choices.
At least in Trump's case, the media kept saying, oh, Hillary's got this. Hillary's going to win, which made most of the people not even bother to go vote. which,
Oh,
I
they
mean,
say
that
he's
kind of
90.
helps
They
decide.
say it's 91% certain to win now. He's 91% certain to win. And he came out recently with a video called anybody who follows Le Pen, like, what was it, like hateful lazy people or hateful traitors or something. Like, if a vote for Le Pen is a vote against France because she is anti-France.
What?
Yeah, the globalist is telling the nationalist that she is anti-France in open debate.
Not
What
surprised.
kind of bizarro world am I in where the globalist gets to tell Le Pen that she's anti-France? It's insanity. Plain insanity.
It's
Although we
not
do-
surprising.
Oh, no, go ahead.
It's just not surprising.
We do have one bit of good news out of all of this. I don't know if you guys follow Twitter, but remember the hashtag I'm with her?
Yeah.
They
Yeah.
have totally stolen it for Le Pen. I've been doing it myself, just tweeting it over and over, and to the point where Twitter banned it. It will never show up on the feed now. Because people were going, I'm with her! And they were talking about Le Pen, and Twitter, like, suddenly it doesn't show up on trending anymore. But for a couple of days there, it was up there, on and off. And I'm like, yes! But there were a lot of people who were still voting I'm with her for Hillary, but everybody for all of, I think 4chan, a bunch of Keck people all took over. I'm with her. So, yeah. And I mean, a lot of people would go, if you vote for Le Pen, they've never had a woman leading France. Isn't it about time that there was a woman leading France? Oh, I loved using that argument.
Speaking of the hashtag, someone posted, "Hey, feminists of France, here's your chance to elect a strong woman to lead your country. Vote Le Pen. Hashtag I'm with her."
Oh yeah. Like, I will say this, I'm not exactly happy with her. A lot of her policies are really they're kind of socialistic to some degree, but I'll say this, she's anti-EU and she's pro her country. In the end, the EU is a horrible idea and it needs to go. It needs to go. I mean, when you look at what they're trying to do with Brexit, they're flat out saying we need to punish Britain for leaving. When the fact of the matter is Britain's holding all the cards. Like, Britain can punish the EU. The EU really can't punish Britain. That's the reason why Britain is leaving, because Britain has been hemorrhaging money over this. Britain has been losing so much, and they wanted to give them a bill of 100 million euros for leaving. And there was the question of, what if we don't pay it? What you want to send us a bill for 100? We're going to go to The Hague. We're going to go to the International Court, and we're going to sue you. Yeah, and we're going to say no. How about that? How about we just tell you to go stuff it? Some people said that, not the official government, but that was a low-level government officials question on one of the news stations. And I'm like, yeah, I'm with that 100%. That, because when I was a bill collector, we used to do that all the time. We'd create all sorts of phantom fees out of nowhere. And then we go, but we'll make you a deal. I know you never actually made a purchase on the area card, but you signed for it, so you legally owe us $1,648.32. But we'll let you pay it off for only $200. Isn't that a great deal? It's all fees. It's all BS. You didn't actually make a purchase with the credit card, but you still owe us $1,600 legally. But you know what? For $200, we'll make it go away. You'd be surprised how many people took that. It's the same policy, except I think it's really going to backfire, because when I saw that, originally it was 50 million euros. And then when England said no, they said, now it's 100 million. It's like, I just wanted to go, who do you think you are, Trump? Like, only Trump can say, you know what? The wall just got 10 feet higher. Only Trump can pull that off. Okay,
Yeah.
You can't pull that off as the EU. So,
Speaking of Trump, the hashtag if you vote for Trump care, the second tweet before I click all the new 20 ones, it says, if you vote for Trump care, prepare to be bigly disappointed when we vote you out. What does voting out with the president have anything to do with reforming healthcare? Especially when the next one right below it for me is, this will sum up your constituent choices for future healthcare. And this is Trump care, cheaper, and then it shows like 7 different bullets, more choices.
Well, this would be the final topic that I had for the evening, which was the healthcare vote. One, I'm not sure if the healthcare thing's going to finalize. This is only going through the House of Representatives. It has not gotten through the Senate. The Senate is undoubtedly going to mangle it and create their own version, and then both versions are going to be combined, and then they'll both have to re-vote on it again. So right now, this is just a symbolic victory. Two, however, not a single Republican was really taking a risk.
Yeah.
I mean, in fact, voting against it would have been the risky vote. So no Republican's going to lose their seat over this.
Yeah, but even changing it to begin with, it would have to go back through the voting process.
Yeah, so I'm not sure what's going to happen with it, whether it's actually going to be passed or not. But at this point, here's the problem. We needed to take care of this 4 years ago. By now, all of the Obama goodies have kicked in. The stuff that people like has been here, and they're used to it. And unfortunately, as I said before, Obamacare has destroyed the private health care in New York State. It's destroyed it. There's nothing here private. Okay, Obamacare has been an abysmal failure, but there's some things in it that people like. And you can't keep them and fix this. So at this point, I don't know what's going to happen. Like, fixing this is going to be a horrible pill to swallow. But I love how they say, well, 24 million people will lose coverage and their premiums will go up. And I'm like, no. If we shave off 24 million people, premiums go down. Okay, if we get rid of 24 million people who are probably the worst people, because the insurance companies are going to keep the best people and they're going to get rid of the worst people, that means that premiums go down. But on NPR, apparently losing 24 million of the worst, most expensive people will raise everybody's premiums. Can you explain that to me?
I'm hoping Trump had some sort of amendment in there to fix the whole loophole for Obama's healthcare plan that made it so businesses, if they didn't want, they could just drop all their employees to part-time to avoid having to give them healthcare.
Yeah, I'm not sure what the solution is at this point. Whatever's going to happen is going to be a mess. I think that a lot of people are reading way too much into this thing, especially the liberals. Yeah, they're leading way too much in this because this is round one. There are 3 more rounds to go. This has got to go back to the Senate. Then it's got to be recombined, and then it's got to be voted on all over again. So you're looking at a process that is months down the road. Although I gotta say, oh no, you go ahead.
It might even take a full year to go through.
Yeah, this is going to be a long, arduous process. But I like that Trump was already thinking ahead. I don't know if you guys caught his tweet, but he said, you know what we need in November? We need a good government shutdown to fix a lot of things around here.
Yeah.
I actually agree. I think that the government would do very well if it had to only spend as much money as it brought in for a little while. And I understand that some of my paycheck comes from the government for the job that I do, but I don't know of any other way to fix it than to take a sledgehammer to everything.
Yeah.
But I don't think he's actually going to shut down. I think that's just his way of saying, hey, by the way, I'm starting right off here with letting you know I'm going to play chicken with you all the way down. You know, he thinks ahead. He does. This guy plays 4-dimensional chess, I swear.
They've already voted for only supporting it until September when the current funds run out. So, I mean...
Yeah, they're kicking it down the road with what they passed last week. Or was it this week? I know they passed something to give them a temporary extension, but come November it runs out. And I have a feeling that I have a feeling that Trump is like along the lines of, you know what, I'm not prepared to fight this fight right now. So yeah, let's kick this down the road till November. I need to settle up some other things first. But come November, yeah, I'm going to be ready to have a good old fashioned fight. And I think the reason he wants to wait until the November is because that's when people are going to start depending on free oil and heating from the government. So there's going to
Yep.
be a lot of pressure on the Democrats to say, I don't care what you need to do, turn my heat back on.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, I think in the end, this is just round one. All we did see was the bell ring, and the judges ruled that Trump is up on points. We've got 3 more rounds to go, and this is a championship fight, and this is going. They're going just all the way unless we get into KO. So I'm not sure, but at any rate, that was pretty much the last topic I had to bring up, and I think we're way over an hour at this point. I haven't even checked the
Probably.
clock.
It's 9:45 for me, so, and I don't know when we started.
We have been at 90 minutes, so if you have any other topics,
I don't
or does chat have any topics? We'll give them a minute or two, or if there's
really have one person watching.
yeah.
I actually figured out you can see who's watching just by, using the chat at least by clicking participants.
You know what? I've never seen. You're talking about Amazing Racist, or you're talking about the Amazing Atheist, and you're calling him a racist. I assume you're talking about an actual person named the Amazing Atheist. And no, I haven't seen his stuff, but I wouldn't mind. I'll check him out at some point.
Amazing
Although,
Atheist.
by the way, I just got to. I'm sorry. You go ahead.
If you're talking about Amazing Atheist, he's not that great.
Yeah, I
In
mean,
fact,
I will say this.
videos.
He is worth examining, if you're looking at promoting your own channel. And I think that one of the things he does have going for him is he does do a nice balance of ragging on people who are obviously stupid, doing some philosophy, but then every once in a while he does do something uplifting and positive.
Except a couple days ago when he told someone they were completely stupid for doing anti-SJW videos still, and the next day uploaded a video making fun of feminists.
Yeah, he's
becoming more and more of a hypocrite. And he's also
a self-parody. Like I said, nothing will get you. Nothing will. If you find something that works, stick with it, and be willing to occasionally step back and have somebody. Just say, hey, by the way, am I doing something wrong? And by the way, if anybody in my audience wants to come along and tell me I'm doing something wrong, feel free. Understand this is amateur hour. This is testing stuff. I'm just. But this is for learning purposes.
TJ also lost a lot of his audience when he decided he was going to try and become an SJW over Trump upholding the federal law against weed.
Yeah, you got to pick your battles, man. You got to pick your battles. Oh, I can look him up later. I'll just search for him. The Amazing Racist. If that's his name, it should pop right up. Any rate, yeah, that's pretty much all I think we have for this evening. Next evening, tomorrow, we'll try and come back on about the same time. We're going to stick with more humor because this is a bit. I mean, there were some funny parts here, but to be honest, it's a little bit depressing. We got an impending war on one continent, and we've already got basically open civil war, if not all but in name, in Venezuela. And this weekend, the fate of the EU is really hanging in the balance. If Le Pen pulls it off, the EU's dead. But even if Macron lives, it may still die. But if Le Pen gets it, it's over. It is done. Stick a fork in the EU. It's over. And even with the other crazy things she's talked about, I can deal with it. I can deal with whatever else she wants to do as long as she puts an end to that organization. Because personally, I've made no bones about it. My ancestry is Poland, and I keep up on Poland, and the EU is screwing them. And the EU is talking about fining them millions of euros if they don't start taking refugees, which Poland has said no. And you're talking about a country that openly sells hand grenades over the counter. Okay, you can buy hand grenades in Poland. Why? Because there are volunteer armies who patrol the border between them and Russia. You know, the people go out of there and say, yeah, you know, it's the weekend, it's my shift to go patrol. And people just walk up and down and they carry hand grenades and military grade weapons to ward off people trying to sneak into their country. Whether or not that's actually happening is another story, but you know, I don't know if you guys know this, but Poland kind of got screwed over by the Nazis and then screwed over by Russia. And the stories that I heard when I was a kid, I can't blame them for being nationalistic because nobody looks out for Poland except for Poland.
I just searched The Amazing Racist, and everything that popped up is different clips from a movie called Inappropriate Comedy.
Oh.
And the very first thing at the very top is driving school for Asians.
Can you go to Poland and volunteer? I don't know. Like, oddly enough, unfortunately, I think their new, you know, nationalism would actually stop them from accepting help from foreigners. But I've often thought about that if I had enough money and things settled down in my life enough that I would want to go back to visit. Because apparently, one thing that happened when we came over here, my family is basically, my father's adopted, so he has no family tree whatsoever. My mother is pretty much the only family history I've got. And beyond my grandparents who came over with my mother, who was they were the only ones who made it here. About 40% of them were killed by Nazis. About another 45% were killed by the Russians. So I don't even know if I have any living relatives left. And our family name, when I went to research it, is apparently just the name of a town. So it'd be hard to find anything. But one of these days, if I actually win the lottery, I might go do that. Any rate. Otherwise, that's enough rambling. Crossing our fingers, hoping for good news. And tomorrow night, we'll try and be funnier. I'm not sure if
I filtered channels.
What?
And I filtered The Amazing Racist down to channels. And the fourth one is The Amazing Atheist. And I just found that funny because calling him racist.
The Amazing Racist. I think he's actually gone to he's posting now mostly on something TJ something. TJ
Kirk.
He tried rebranding his channel to TJ Kirk, but then he decided he wanted to go back to The Amazing Atheist, and YouTube told him that was an inappropriate term.
Oh God! Oh my God! That is hysterical.
What's funny is the only atheists who really have seen a loss in views and all of that, since the whole YouTube is silencing the word atheist, is Jacqueline Glenn and The Amazing Atheist. A lot of the rest of them have seen their views going up.
Oh wow, you're actually Polish too? Well then I'm sure they'd welcome you in. They have gotten very pro their country, and I support them 100% because, as I said before, conflict leads to strength. Bad ideas need to end and good ideas need to rise. And in order to have conflict, you need diversity. But if you have diversity without conflict, you're doomed. That, monopolies kill and diversity without conflicts kill or eventually lead to explosions. So, Aaron Raw. Yeah, I kind of followed him for a little while there until he went basically full-blown SJW. So, well. At any rate, it's been fun talking with you guys. Hopefully we'll have more comedy tomorrow. I don't know if we're going to get on at all, given, how things happen, and this is kind of hit or miss. But if we get enough people who want to come together, we'll do something. And as always, it's been an honor and a privilege to talk to you. It's been real. It's been fun. Not sure if it's been real fun. And any closing thoughts?
Pickles.
Cucumbers.
And actually, I think I like what Randy Kuhn put it best. struggle is essential, not conflict, struggle. Struggle is what is important. I like that. That's a much better term than what I had. Oh, please show up more if you can. And if you actually can find some silence, I would love to have you on. Yes, indeed. So, praise cack, everybody. I love that creepy sound. And I'm Unthoth Neverborn, the abyss that slumbers, and you have been listening to Eldritch Rants. Thank you for your time, everyone, and I hope you have a pleasant evening.